Previously on
Why is art important in the future of Singapore? Art is part of our daily lives. Art is integral to our society. Art can contribute to the resilience. So why are we not talking about art and innovation? Why are we not talking about art and the creative industry? Where is art?
Water is existential. It has been so in 1965. It has been so yesterday. It is so today. And it will be so tomorrow. How many more desalination plants and how many more new water plants we must build in order for water to never be a weapon pointing at our head?
Does he forgotten that the former Prime Minister, Mr. Goh Chok Tong is your ESM, sued the Workers' Party candidate Teng Liang Hong during general election 1997 for just making a police report by using family. Does not this also show that blood is thicker than water? Own sibling cannot sue. After all, we are all brothers and sisters. But political opponents and critics sue until your pants drop.
I'll be very brief. The response by Thia Khiang is not unexpected. I expected that. This is what I call political sophistry. And as for Tan Liang Hong, he's not my brother.
阿花姐，你要记得，金山都吃得了，不要动不动就想到要用阿公留下来的储蓄，不要让我们沦落成败家子。Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I support the budget.
We want to help the disadvantaged in society more. And yet, after all the speeches that I've listened carefully in this chamber, the Worker Party thinks that finding the ways to fund all these programs is a distraction. They agree with the programs, but talking about how to fund these programs is a distraction. I find it baffling.
You want a clarification?
Yes, because he's referring to my speech. I say it's the distraction. I thought the budget, the most important part of this budget is anchoring Singapore. I'm not saying that revenue is not important, but GST is not part of the budget measure at this budget, right?
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I have in hand what Mr. Thia Khiang said in COS 2017 in the card to MOF. I quote, "I hope he," meaning the Minister for Finance, "can be upfront with Singaporeans now so that they are not blindsided by the government as they were with the sudden 30% increase in water prices." You can't have the cake and eat it.
No, Speaker, I stand what I say. I'm not asking you to hide the increase or intended increase in GST. I'm not asking the government to do that. What I'm all saying is that you can, by all means, announce it well before you want to increase. It's good to increase before, to announce it beforehand. But the question is whether or not you need to announce it together with this budget. That's another issue. Speaker, anyway, I've asked at the last election, and I think the DPM Tharman promised we have enough, money to spend, will not increase. That's true. So next election is 2020 or 2021, so you're going to increase after the next election. Good to announce it now, then we can debate it at the rally, public rally.
I did not accuse the government of being untruthful as alleged, and neither had I intended to accuse the government of dishonesty. I do not accept the over-characterization the PAP MPs have put on my words and intentions, based on their own interpretation, born out of overactive imaginations and oversensitivity.
By so refusing, her conduct falls short of the standard of integrity and honour expected of all members. I must therefore put the honourable member on notice, and the rest of the House too, that if she repeats such dishonourable conduct and abuse parliamentary privilege, I refer the matter to the Committee of Privileges.
And then, of course, we remember Senior Minister of State Chee Tat, who who raised the bar by speaking in Tamil not once but twice. So the arms race has begun.
Sariyana, Mokli Peyape, Namada, Kadapada.
Itu oru pala moli. Naa dalu mandram. Analum Tamil il, pesa modium. This is a multilingual parliament. I can also speak in Tamil. At times, things seem to be rather ambiguous, such as whether 2/3 plus 1/3 is greater than 1.
We must strive for 2/3 plus 1/3, not just equal to 1, but greater than 1.
Or disagreement, for example, having a division for the budget statement. Argue, fight by all means, but within limits and in a responsible manner.
Hey, you know.
Rules.
Pillai, you have half a minute to wrap up.
In our case, the proposed section 154A of the Evidence Act provides that the minister may make rules to restrict the questions that may be asked of an alleged victim of cross-examination. I support these objectives. However, I wish to seek some clarification. Given that the Evidence Act already contains restrictions on certain kinds of questions, what is the rationale of having these restrictions dealt with in secondary legislation instead of primary legislation? As I pointed out, even the UK model.
Kindly wrap up, please.
Yes, sir. Just right. So, just this last question.
You don't have time for a last question.
Yes, I think I'll
Thank you very much.
I'll take your cue.
I have always found it perplexing that the police are called in to handle snakes. I urge the AVS to train a group of experts who can handle wildlife and attending to residents who need help. I give you an example. Recently, a resident saw a snake in the drain right in front of her unit, which is on the ground floor. It is good to have harmonious coexistence with animals, but we need to strike a balance. We need to consider the safety of our residents first. I would like to take this opportunity to highlight the problem that some cat feeders cause to our community. In Yishun South, Zone A, many residents complaining about sighting of big rats. And I went down at night to take a look. True enough, I can see many rats dancing about, running about, and I activated NEA, AVA, and Town Council. We formed a rats task force. There were several high-rise littering of sanitary pads for many years. And until today, it is still not solved. And why? Because NEA deployed CCTV is only for a few days. And the problem persists. Actually, this one, if you have targeted an ambition to catch the culprit, I'm sure we'll be able to catch it. Otherwise, looks like this problem will only disappear when the little bug menopause.
Do you believe, I ask you for the final time, religion and politics should be kept separate? Just asking you, do you believe that religion should be kept separate from politics? I think I'm asking you, would you be prepared to answer honestly, do you believe religion should be kept separate from politics? Mr. Manap, I'm entitled to ask you, based on that, a further clarification, do you believe that religion should be kept separate from politics in Singapore? Would you agree that religion should be kept separate from politics in Singapore?
And my question really is, can we expect in future, either by way of parliamentary question or by the government on its own accord, dividing that into Singaporeans and PRs? If the government's approach is no, we are not going to provide that data, can the minister please share that detail with us here? Because it's pointless for us to keep asking for the data if the government is not going to provide it.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, sir, I don't think we have anything to hide. We have just shared the data.
It's Pritam Singh.
Well, sir, if that's the case, then for the number, the 60,000 PMET jobs, local PMET jobs, how many were for Singaporeans and how many went to PRs?
Get you the questions. I mean, we can get you the numbers. But let me say this. What is the point behind the questions?
How it transmits, and therefore, two things you need to do, which is you need to wash your hands with soap and not touch your face. You just touch your face, Dr. Intan.
Perhaps my thoughts would be best expressed by quoting the lyrics from the Liverpool FC song about when you're walking through a storm, hold your head up high. Don't be afraid of the dark, because at the end of the storm, there's a golden sky. Mr. Speaker, sir, I won't sing. I can't. And I don't want...
Thank you very much.
And I don't want to empty this house. But I have this to say to DPM. Walk on, with hope in your heart. And you will never walk alone. You will never walk alone.
Mr. Speaker, words are not sufficient to express our appreciation for all of those who are
Excuse me.